Ramaphosa the Black Supremacist has nothing to teach USA about democracy. White South Africans, however, do. Nice guys finish last. Ramaphosa seems to love to preach from his high and mighty podium of righteousness and black privilege, and now he has even claimed he can teach the mighty USA a thing or two about democracy. This is the man who claimed COVID knows no color, then proceeded to exclude whites from COVID emergency relief. The man who wants to expropriate all white-owned land with no compensation. Is that what Ramaphosa wants to teach the USA? How to be a supremacist and a racist and still look like the good guy by owning and controlling the media? If anything, Ramaphosa should be given the character assassination treatment that the media and left have dished out to Trump 24/7 for 4 years. People like the mixed-race supremacist Trevor Noah, who has become so rich out of race baiting and Trump bashing, he has bought a mansion for $27 million. 4 years of constant character assassination, insults and slander every night. Yet despite talking tough, Trump did nothing. Democrats, however, talk nice, but quietly and even secretly do nasty things, just like Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa and the whole ANC for that matter should be smeared, chastised, belittled, falsely accused for everything under the sun, because there certainly is more grounds for that than there are for Trump, who despite his harsh rhetoric was too nice and too soft on his opponents. As a result, he lost. He failed to depoliticize the civil service, failed to get rampant big tech under control, and was remiss in applying law and order when the Democrats went on uncontrolled riots, looting and a burning spree with BLM and Joe Biden's Antifa. Ramaphosa has done the same and then some. The cadre deployment campaign has basically turned the civil service into the ANC party. Every day in South Africa there are dozens of protests with structures being burnt and looted with impunity, yet Ramaphosa sits in his ivory tower doing nothing. Is that what Ramaphosa wants to teach the USA? Marxism and socialism? Yet mainstream media still broadcast all his lies and rhetoric like dutiful party workers. Indeed, the mainstream media themselves have been turned into extensions of the ANC party machine. Look at who owns independent media, that's IOL, Argus, Cape Times, Daily Star, etc. There certainly is ample daily reason to vilify Ramaphosa and the ANC. You just have to look at the past articles on SA News. But sadly mainstream media seem to miss out on this opportunity. Strange, Trevor Noah can get rich out of attacking conservatives, but no one can get rich out of attacking virtue-signaling liberals or the militant left. That should give you great cause for concern, as clearly all the money is on the left. Just look at all the large multinationals that fund the likes of Biden and Ramaphosa. Is it any wonder these puppets think they have the Midas touch? Without the money men behind them, they would not exist. Why would it need 1 billion rand from the richest whites in South Africa to get Ramaphosa elected? Something like Dominion Software possibly? But don't expect mainstream media to do their job. Investigative journalism died in 1994 along with apartheid. Ramaphosa's only response for anything that is wrong is that it was apartheid's fault. Indeed, there seems to be an attempt to rewrite history, to claim that the reason Africans still lived in mud huts and had not used a wheel or written language yet when Europeans arrived was because of apartheid. It was apartheid's fault that Africans have skipped an evolutionary step. It was apartheid's fault that Africans were primitive and barbaric centuries before apartheid even existed. The left has never had a problem with making sense or being logical. If you can assert it and gain advantage from it, then it is right. That is exactly what happened with Trump. They asserted everything under the sun, and being nice guys, the Republicans just let it roll off like water off a duck's back. Sadly, they have now paid the price, because nice guys always finish last. Ramaphosa seems not to realize that when Europeans arrived in Africa, the Europeans had already built and lost multiple continent-wide empires, like the Roman Empire, the Celtic Empire, the Spanish Empire, etc., etc. Europe had already survived multiple invasions from the east, but they had grown strong from that and had advanced. Africans, on the other hand, have been unable to take that evolutionary step. Most people don't know, because the media will never admit it, but Africa did indeed have a continent-wide conquest by the Bantu. The Bantu originate from Nigeria, and 2,000 years ago, when they were given farming knowledge and Iron Age technology by the Egyptians with which to build weapons, the Bantu population exploded, setting off the greatest conquest in the world ever, but no one knows about it. The Bantu spread east and south, pillaging and consuming everything in their path. Entire races and tribes were wiped off the face of the earth, like the Hadza, Sandawi, Pygmy, San, etc., etc. If not genocided, these true indigenous tribes of Africa were assimilated. Even today, Bantu claim they have a right to the Cape because they assimilated and interbred with the Khoisan. Is that what Ramaphosa wants to teach the USA? Imperialism? However, Bantu were never able to cement their colonization of Africa and take the next step, namely of formalizing their empire and setting up a management structure. It all just degenerated into local wars and tribal conflicts. By the time the Europeans arrived, the Bantu colonization of sub-Saharan Africa was lost in time because they could not even write their own history down. So when the Europeans arrived and started implementing regional management structures, the Africans did not even recognize what was being done. To them, regional management was Shaka killing 1 million of his own people in the Mfakani genocide. Is that what Ramaphosa wants to teach the USA? Genocide? Fast forward to today. A quarter of a century after white South Africans enacted possibly the greatest example of true democracy ever enacted, when they handed an entire first world country, rich and successful, over to the Africans, who had still not been able to take that all-important evolutionary step of civilization. And, once again, for this huge nice gesture, white South Africans have finished last. In fact, the entire process of the handover forewarned what was to come. The negotiations were driven by threats and barbaric acts of violence and terrorism. Seems to be the only language Africans understood at that time, having done so for 2 millennia. Sadly, it has not stopped. Apart from the 58 murders a day in South Africa, the Bantu imperialism and consumption of everything in their path has been exported to Europe and USA. And that is where we find ourselves today. European conservative people in America and Europe that have no answer to the violent and primitive left that uses lies, BLM and Antifa to force their will on the people, much like ANC's Ramaphosa did in 1994 with their bombs and stone throwing. Unlike Trump, Ramaphosa has done everything he can to punish and oppress the minorities in South Africa, whereas Trump has created record employment figures for all minorities in the USA. As a result, he received a record number of votes from the minority groups, yet he still lost the election? Really? Once again, nice guys finish last. Does Ramaphosa want to teach USA how to be racist against minorities? And now we head into a future where imperialist Pan-Africanist Bantu are being shown how to take the next step in imperialism. The New World Order, through the African Union, funded by the European Union, is attempting to turn Africa into one huge nation. Already they are talking about a common African passport and a common African currency. Yes, South Africa will be merged with Zimbabwe. Communists never learn, do they? Forget that Africa has 7,000 tribes and 2,400 languages. They want to complete the genocide started by the Bantu 2,000 years ago and wipe out all culture, tradition, languages, religions and tribes to form one huge zombie population that is obedient and indoctrinated by central command. Indeed, it appears the Bantu and the globalists have a lot in common. The globalists, the very thing Trump has been fighting against so hard. But the money is on the left, and the chances are, if you are given the choice of living free or living inside the matrix with a nice life and a nice car and nice stuff, You will happily betray your kith, kin and country for globalist coin and false virtue. This is something Trump has just discovered, as a large section of the Republican Party sell out to the globalists. All is fair in love and war, they say. Sadly, it seems only the left applies that in practice. The mostly white right are too desperate to be the nice guy that finishes last. Thank you for listening, and please remember to like and subscribe, and most importantly share.